welcome to Yin Yoga Day of the Movement Challenge. Thank you for making it this far. This video is for weeks 3 and 4, so if you're watching this on week 3, hang on in there. You've done a great job so far. We have one more week to go. If this is week 4, then congratulations, you've finished the challenge. This is your last day, so please let me know what you thought of the overall experience, what you learned. Do you feel stronger, more flexible? Maybe you feel like you're just getting started and you feel like you got a good rhythm going and you'd like to keep going. So just please let me know, and let me know as well if you'd like something like this in the future. I think it would be a great idea, but I would love to hear your feedback. So let's get into some Yin Yoga poses. The only prop really that you need this week is a blanket or a couple of towels, something that's quite thick and supportive, as we're going to do a seated pose that may or may not require some forward folding, but one of our legs will be stretched out, so always a good idea to have a blanket to sit on with seated poses, especially when the legs are out in front. Have blocks and more towels or cushions or pillows around in case you do need them for full support. So let's get started with the first pose. We're going to do a half butterfly. So I'll show you from the side where you're going to sit. Once you fold your blanket, make sure it's got a little bit of height. Basically, you're going to put your sit bones along the edge of that blanket. That way, your pelvis is more neutral. It kind of tilts a little bit forward, so it's easier to hold an upright position here, especially with the legs out in front. And it's also safer to fold forward from the hips. If you are a little bit more flexible, you feel like you don't need it, that's okay. Just make sure that if you are going to flex forward, you do it from your hips and you don't collapse into the low back and then round from there. Protect your low back at all times. So get your blanket, and now I'll show you from the front what we're doing. So 2 variations of this pose. One, so you'll bring one leg out into the diagonal line. So this is my left leg, it's opening up towards the left. My other leg is bent. This is the half butterfly. If your leg doesn't fully make it to the ground, maybe it's a little bit elevated, that's where you will prop to give that leg full support. If it makes it to the ground, then that's fine. You can hold here if this gives you enough sensation into the inner thigh. You can, as the minutes go by, either fold straight forward, again folding from the hips and just walking your hands forward. You can keep your back straight, or you can allow the upper back to round, and then very slowly you come back and then do it on the other side. Or for maybe a little bit of an extra challenge, you can twist your torso towards the leg that's stretched out, hold from there, or again walk your hands forward and support yourself there. Don't push or pull with the hands, they just support you. So find the variation that works for you. Each one will target tissues a little bit differently. If you fold forward, you'll feel it a little bit more into the adductors, maybe into the low back, especially if you allow your upper back to round. If you twist, you'll probably feel it more into the hamstrings and maybe into the QL and the glutes of the opposite side. So find the variation that's going to target the tissues that need a little bit more attention for you. And once you're there, we start the 3 minutes. So remember, get into the pose very slowly. Take your time finding the variation that works for you. Once you're there, stop where your body tells you to stop. That first bit of resistance that you encounter is where you want to stop and hold the pose. And as you work through the layers of fascia, you'll be able to twist or bend a little bit more. Don't push or pull. Make sure that you relax the muscles around the joints. So make sure that your quads are not tightening. Make sure your hamstrings are relaxed. Make sure your glutes have let go all their tension. And let whatever sensations of stretch or compression that you're feeling fall between a 2 and a 4, maybe a 5. Make sure your breathing is flowy and easy. Take your time getting in there. Take the poses step by step. If you're tingling or burning, you've probably gone a little too far and are compressing some nerve. So just come out of the pose, shake yourself out a bit, and then try it again, or modify. Once you're in the pose, make sure you can be as still as you can. So try not to fidget. Really make this pose about the connective tissue and not about the muscles. So those are the principles of Yin Yoga. And if you are bent forward and have allowed your back to round, you can place a block in front of you to support your forehead if it's comfortable to do so. Otherwise, just use your arms to keep you there. And always listen to your body. If it's telling you it's had quite enough, come out of the pose, even if you haven't made it to the 3 minutes. Maybe have a timer somewhere around you set for 3 minutes, but come out when your body tells you to. And then look at the time. If you were in the pose for 30 seconds, great. If you made it to a minute or 2, that's great. The more that you practice, the more that your tissues get used to this, and the deeper the layers of fascia they have to work through. So each time you'll be able to go a little bit deeper. Very slowly use your hands and your breath, use your exhale to get you back to an upright position. Maybe put your hands behind you to support yourself there for a minute. Breathe. Help that leg come back up. And it may feel good to do some windshield wiper motions before going to the other side, just to release the hips. So you just go from one side to the other with your hips. Allow your knees to follow the motion. And when you're there, you can take the pose on the other side. So reposition your blanket if you need to. Reposition yourself on the blanket. Half butterfly with the other leg. And the other leg goes into the diagonal and opens up to that side. Just shift this way a bit for you. Okay. So again, take your time getting into the pose. This may be where you start, and then maybe you fold forward, or you twist and then fold forward. Take your time, honor your body. These poses that we do one side at a time really allow you to see which side is a little bit tighter, if you have a tighter side than another one or not. So it's a humbling experience when you do have a side that's a little tighter than the other and you can't fold or twist like you did on the previous side. So meet your body where it is. Don't make it do things it's not ready to. Just practice the pose with the variations that work for you at that time, and little by little your body will respond and adapt. And every day it will be a different experience. One day you might be a little bit more flexible, a little bit more loose, therefore twisting or folding will be easier. And there may be other days where you're just so stiff that you can't really fold or twist. And for me today particularly, I feel a little bit stiff. This is a pose that's not usually too challenging for me, but today I can feel a lot of pull into my low back particularly. So that's okay. Just breathe normally. You don't have to take deep breaths unless you want to. You can definitely throw in breathing exercises as you do this. It's up to you. Or maybe once you've watched the video through or practiced once, maybe next time you mute and you play a meditation. That's valid too. Alright, very, very slowly with your arms and your exhale, come up, out of the pose, take your time, piece by piece, little by little. Maybe help that leg come up again. And let's do those windshield wiper motions if they felt good the first time. If not, you can skip this. It's just to release the hips and the low back a little bit. And we're going to do a thread the needle next. We did this once in a live session. And I want to do it again because it's a great pose to target the thoracic spine. So still working with that rotation of your spine, particularly into the thoracic spine. And it helps to really open up the posterior part of the shoulder, obviously the back, and all the way down into the arm. No props required for this pose, but you can have a pillow or a small cushion to put under your head if it doesn't quite make it down to the floor. Be very mindful of this pose. It is a twist. So you come to tabletop pose here, knees right underneath the hips. For the hands, you walk one hand forward to give you space for the other hand to thread between the arm and the torso. So you're working to bring your head to the floor and then support yourself with the other arm. So you can support out here, you can keep your arm bent right there, you can bring it here. Whatever you feel more support, that's where you position the other hand. If your hips shifted when you twisted, shift them back to center. Doing that may increase the sensations that you're feeling across your back. So just be very mindful of that. If you're feeling tingly or numb fingers, then you've probably gone a little too far. Just come out of the pose. Maybe allow your hips to shift the other way to take some of that pressure off. If your head didn't make it all the way down, or you're kind of struggling to be there, that's where you want to put maybe a pillow or that blanket that you use just to narrow that gap. If you feel that that is still too much weight on your head, you can shift into a wide-legged child's pose like we tried last week. You can still prop between your glutes and your heels if you need to, and then you can twist from there. Okay, so we're really trying to work on that twist, that rotation, but really protect your neck, protect your hips and your low back. So find the variation that works for you. And hold for about 3 minutes, but use your body That's your best indicator for when to come out. Make sure you can breathe as easily as you can. That you're not holding any tension on your neck or your shoulders or your legs. And this is a good pose to work with your breath. Feel your ribcage expand, side to side, back to front. We're going to come out of the pose very, very slowly and carefully. So with the arm that didn't work, bring your palm to the floor and try to shift your weight into it. Maybe start rotating your head and your torso little by little. Unthread the arm and then use both hands to get you back up into a tabletop pose. Before we go on the next side, you might need to stay here for a little bit, but we'll release that pose with some cat and cows. So bring your knees underneath the hips and your hands underneath your shoulders. Don't lock your arms, keep a soft bend in them. So as you inhale, you drop the belly, the chest, bring the shoulder blades together, maybe look up. And with the length of your exhale, round from the low back to the mid back. Separate the shoulder blades, really open up. Allow the head to come down, really arch your back here. And then inhale and reverse. So low back, mid back. Maybe the neck gets involved. If you have some neck issues, just keep your neck neutral. And exhale, contract. Again, inhale. And exhale. Go at your own pace. Coming back to neutral. If you need to do a few more rounds, please do so. We're going to do the pose on the other side. If you need extra padding underneath your knees, please do use blankets or maybe fold your mat over just to give you extra padding, but don't suffer. All right, so remember to honor your body where it is. So if it can't do the variation you did on the other side, that's fine. Modify as you need to. Take your time getting into the pose and exploring it. very gently engage the non-working arm. Shift your weight into it and start rotating out of the pose. Come back to tabletop. We'll do another set of cat-cows to release the pose from that side. So on your inhale, you drop everything, and on the inhale, you round. So go at your own pace. Here we go. Come back to center, or keep going with the cat and cows if you would like. We have one more pose, and it is called Happy Baby Pose. Take my socks off here to show you one of the modifications. So the full Happy Baby Pose, which I myself find a little bit challenging, goes as follows. You bring your legs up, bend at the knees, open the legs, and either hold your big toes with your peace fingers and your thumb, or you hold at the arch. Yeah, so I find this to be quite challenging to begin with, so this is not where I will start. I just want to show you in case this works for you. There may be quite a bit of compression in your hips, which is what happens in my case, because we have a lot of flexion, but also an external rotation. So we are flexed, like super flexed, a little bit abducted as well, and externally rotated. So there's a lot going on in that hip. So how do we do this pose? If you can do the full Happy Baby, go for it. Just ensure that when you do that, you're not pulling your legs up like this. You want to keep your entire back on the floor. So no lifting the butt and no lifting your upper back to get there, right? If you're crunching to get into the pose, then that's not the variation for you. We can do half Happy Baby pose, which is where you take the one leg and get it into that position, but keep the other one bent like this for support, or for a little bit more of a challenge, you straighten it out. This might make you kind of open into the side of the bent leg, so what I like to do is to bring that leg into a butterfly, and that gives me a bit of counterbalance. So that's Happy Baby, or half Happy Baby pose. So if that's the variation that works for you, you do a couple of minutes on either side. Or if none of those are working for you just yet, don't worry. We can start at the very, very basics of bringing your knees towards your chest, and you hold here for maybe a minute, and then you can open your legs, right? You can abduct the legs, and so now your knees are trying to come towards your shoulders here, but still not losing contact with the ground. So you can start here and then opening, or you can simply hold in this open position, and then lastly, if you get there, you can try either the half Happy Baby or the full Happy Baby. So I'm going to start right here with my knees to my chest and my legs close together. If you're following this little sequence, this variation, I'll cue you as to when to open your legs and when to do full Happy Baby or half Happy Baby. If you're doing this variation, this is where you open your legs, keep holding on to your shins, make sure your back is still in full contact with the floor, and you're not arching, you're not crunching. And if you feel you can't release your back, then just go back to holding like you were previously. And lastly, you can transition into the full happy baby pose, or you can do half happy baby and hold it for 1 or 2 minutes or the full 3 minutes on each side. And if full happy baby or even half happy baby is still too intense, just go back to where you were previously. And very slowly going to release whatever variation of the pose you were in. And if you did have happy baby for that last modification, switch to the other side. And if you did have happy baby all throughout, and you held it for 3 minutes on one side, then this is where you switch to the other side. If you're completely done with the pose, then maybe just let your knees collapse towards each other for a second. So undo that external rotation with some internal rotation. And if you tried all the variations of happy baby and they just didn't work for you, don't worry, it's all good. Just skip. No point in risking injury to try to do a pose that your body does not like or is not ready for at the moment. Alright, so from here we'll do Shavasana, the final resting pose. So strain your legs, maybe spread them a little bit, give yourself as much space as you need to. And maybe after that happy baby pose, you're feeling a little bit of tightness or compression here. So if you need to, put a bolster or a pillow under your knees just to soften into the hips, and then you can take it out after a couple minutes and then rest with your legs straight out in front. Just be kind and gentle to your body. Breathe. Maybe this is where you can do some breathing techniques or a meditation. Maybe you go from envisioning your toes, your feet, sorry. You see a bright white light traveling up into your shins and your calves, the back of your knee, the front of your knee, into your hamstrings and your quadriceps, your glutes, the hip flexors, the front of the hip, the pelvis, the sacrum, all the way up your back, all the way up your belly, into the shoulders, into the neck, back of the head, your face, down the back and the front of your shoulders, your arms, elbows, your forearms, your wrists, and finally your hands and fingers. Just envision that white healing light covering all aspects of your body. Release any tension you may have in your low back, your jaw, your facial muscles, your neck. Just soften and sink into a sensation of relaxation and total release. So this is where I will leave you. Feel free to continue meditating, visualizing, or feel free to come out. Thank you so much for doing this practice with me. Thank you for making it all the way to the end. I look forward to your comments and your feedback. Have a wonderful day.